I want to ask you one question right now. What makes you a successful musician or artist? Just have a quick think. What's the first thing that pops to mind? Is it a rock star? Is it somebody who fills up an arena or a venue and just sells out the place? Is that success to you? Is being a guitar god a success to you? Maybe having a million streams on Apple Music or Spotify. Maybe it's money. Is that what defines success for you? Maybe even free drinks. That could be success. Everybody defines success differently. And if you haven't spent any time thinking about that, it can be hurting you and not pushing you in a direction that helps. So maybe let's have a think on that. Hey everybody, and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to talk about what is success in a music career and how you define it personally. And it's different for everybody, so there's no right or wrong answer in this. That's the first thing to get off our chest and just to put out there right away. You can't be wrong in this. Whatever you think is success. But if you haven't spent the time and the effort to either write it down or in your mind fully develop what that means to you, some of the offsets and the problems that come from this can haunt you for years and years and even a lifetime. And the things that I'm talking about, such as regret, unhappiness, and those things all kind of stem from not understanding what your success, what you really wanted out of life, what you wanted out of a music career, and just meandering through and making it work sometimes just leads to complete unhappiness and regret. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And I just want to take a little time today to push you in that direction of, even if you know what success is for you, maybe just define it a little better so that every day you might get a little bit more out of it. You might find yourself being a little happier because you found success. You've seen little wins that you're moving you towards a larger success. Those kind of things can make a big difference in a life and really can show up in your art and your music. So let's go over why it matters. The first thing to talk about, and that we kind of just barely skim the surface there, is that when you define what works for you as a musician and what you want to end up being at the end of the day, when you cross that finish line, whatever that is, if you haven't defined that, everything's going to push and pull you in different directions as you try to achieve those goals. And that can make you turn into a person you don't like. It can wind up defining what your foundations are as a human being. It can cause you to manipulate and even give up some of your principles and those things that make you a core person and that you want to strive to be as a human being. You will find yourself letting go of those if you just want to get at one goal with no real thought of how to get there and what you're willing to do to meet that goal. And the thing with that is you really don't want to let those kind of things define you. That's kind of where you see people that sometimes in your head you say they've made it. They've made success. They're rich. Everybody knows them. They're infamous. Everybody listens to their music. What else do they want? Why are they so miserable? It's because they haven't taken the time to define what success is for them in their lives. And a lot of those people that you look down upon and you say, hey, they have everything. What's the problem? If they're lucky enough to make it to a later period in their life, to live a number of years past that, what you define as success, they usually wind up redefining what that success is. And we'll get into that in a bit later. But if they had taken the time ahead just to say, here's what winning is for me, here's what makes me happy, here's where I want to wind up at the end of the day, that would have made all the difference in the world. And that's what we want to do today, to make sure that you get the wins that you deserve and that you're happy along the way. So another thing to talk about why it matters is, as you're going along this journey and you're building a music career, you'll start to reach out to people and talk to people around you that have been successful, that you want to emulate or you want to reach what they've done. And the more that you talk to people like that, the people that are especially later on in their years or later on in their career, something they're going to see, a recurring theme, is that a reoccurring theme that's going to be just keep popping up and popping up is that those people have learned to redefine success over the years. So like you or like anybody else, when they start out picking up an instrument for their first time or singing their first song and deciding this is what they want to do for their life, they might start out saying, I want to be famous. I want to be rich. I want to be well known. You know, the exact same things that motivate her. I want to attract a partner. I want to get that girl. I want to get that guy to notice me. Any of those kind of things. But as they grew, as they found out that the music's what's fueling their soul, it's the kind of thing that's really giving them a meaning in this life and a passion to pursue, they've redefined what the end goal and what success is in their daily routine, in their life, in their weekly routine, in a month, in a year, in an album release, whatever it may be, whatever cycles they choose to identify. As they've redefined success over those years, it wasn't all about getting money. Yeah, you want to get paid for what you do, but getting enough to live is sometimes just enough to get to another success that you're looking for. And so you should really take these lessons from those who have been around and seen enough to know that redefining success is a good thing. And with that, you can just dive deeper and see how they've learned to reapply what success is to them and how they've reincorporated that into what they do daily, what they do weekly, how they get to that point, where they're finding happiness. You know, if they're putting out a good song and they're completely happy about that, they find comfort and solace in, I've written a great song and put it out into the world. You know, they're not so much worried about the critics or how it's coming back to them or what people are saying. They just know they've done something great, creative. They've shared an emotion in a way that was meaningful to them and well thought out. That can be success. And those are the kind of things that you really have to think about and why it really matters. And when you're defining what your milestones are, you get to have those celebrations of those little wins along the way. Just from a personal experience of setting the bar too high and just looking too far down the road is the end goal of, I've always thought, for me, I've always just wanted to play in front of a lot of people. It didn't matter. I was 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I really wanted to play in front of a bunch of people. And everything in between there, because I was so laser focused on that's what I wanted to achieve, I forgot to celebrate the little things in the middle, the things that make up the entire journey. And that, especially with age and that experience, you start to learn that it was never about that end goal. It was always those moments in between there that made up everything. And if you aren't realizing that, folks, that's the real nugget to take away from here. And I'm glad it's so early in the video so that if you do move on, just take that little part away from this. The journey in between to what you define as success is really what makes up your life. It's what makes up your music career. It's what makes up your happiness. That's super important. So that's really why it matters. The next thing to talk about that we also, again, touched upon while we're going through this is that success needs to evolve. It must evolve. And as you're getting older, no matter who you are, whatever you're coming across, if you've already defined in yourself that music will somehow be a part of my life, somewhere along that journey, something's going to change who you are fundamentally and what matters to you as a person. and a great example of this, of course, is just any musician you've ever known that has ever had a kid and watching them instantly change what their priorities are, what means the most, what is important in their daily routine, where music fits in that. You know, a lot of especially newer parents have to take that step back to raise that kid and make sure that they're getting the love and care and everything is holding together. And that's okay. They get to redefine what success is for them. For some, it is getting right back out there. They've got their kid to a point where, and assist them with either a partner or whatever it may be, but they found a way that to make it work with where the kid is being raised, but they're still putting the full effort that they feel and towards their career or whatever it is with music. And then for others, instead of going full on, going right back into music full time like that, they completely take a 180 shift as to what success is going to be in their life. It might take them time, and it may take some begrudging acceptance, but they learn to define that success as, maybe I just want to go play local shows. Maybe I just want to go connect with local musicians, and that becomes success for them. Maybe they just want to write music for their new family and be able to entertain their kids and do those kind of things. Every one of those is a viable success, is a viable win, is a viable finish line in this life. But the important part is that that you're successful. Without acknowledging that's what success is to you, then that same person can look back and say, I didn't do this because I had kids. And then they look at either their partner or whatever caused that situation, and they look at it with resentment and hatred and, pointing fingers as the reason that they couldn't get there. And the more excuses you have in the way, of course, the more unlikely you're ever going to get anywhere and meet any sort of success. And especially that leads to unhappiness. And you can write the book from here. We've all heard it. But as easy as that is to fall down that rabbit hole, to go down that, it's so much easier just to take a little time, a day, a half a day, an hour, just to sit down and think of what success means to you, and being okay with doing that every once in a while and changing what that means, letting success evolve. Okay, the very last part I really want to get across here is a part that nobody really talks about, but once you hear it, it's pretty obvious, and it makes a pretty big deal. And the thing that we want to talk about here is that all those things that I mentioned in the beginning that are the definitions of success by society and what we start out as maybe our ideas of what success are, such as being a rock star, such as being rich and famous, or being a guitar god, or whatever it may be. But the thing that you find out over time, and the really important thing to take away from this, is that as you meet people who have been successful, that you have deemed to be a successful musician and have made it and done whatever, X, Y, and Z that defines them as a Hall of Famer, a literal god in the realm of music. When you learn their story and you see how many times they've redefined success, it may be called different things, but as they've changed what was important to them and what really meant something in the end, you start to see that when they were focusing on the music, when they were building something or creating something amazing with their skills and their talents and all the things they have learned and put into that, when you start talking about what when they became famous, or what made them all the money, or why were all the albums sold or all the streams to listen to, you start to find out that those things that are the benchmark of society as success, having money, being famous, being a rock star, all those things wound up being a byproduct of what they were doing, what they were trying to achieve, what was success to them. Yes, everybody down in their, the deep down part of being a human is, of course, we want those things. Of course, we want to be famous. Of course, we want to be validated. Yes, but what really comes down to is those people that we look up to and that we think have it all, everything that they had done that you think is that benchmark was, of course, a byproduct of what they were doing. And you need to remember that. If the end goal that you are searching for was one of those things that I've listed, or something kind of close to that, maybe just redefine what success for you is, soon, relative. So you can have something to look forward to, have something when give yourself something to be happy about, instead of always being miserable because you aren't there yet, because those kind of things are always far off in the future. They're always a byproduct of achieving the smaller, little more meaningful things that we do in music to create something, to put it out into the world. So just remember, some people need to hear that, and maybe that was you today that had to hear that fame, success, and all those things that society thinks makes a successful musician or artist are really just byproducts of doing what you do. So that's all we have today. I want to keep it really short so you have time to walk away from this and do some thinking and really let yourself understand what success is to you. And of course, always be willing to shift and redefine that success. So thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. And if you want to watch something more, there's going to be a couple videos here on the side of me. I'd appreciate if you take a look at those, if they'll help you out. And if you are looking for some little helpers along the way, we have a Patreon that has a bunch of free PDFs. Everything's free on there. So please just go there, and the links are below. You can just help yourself to whatever. It's all free there. So until the next episode, bye.